Raising Film started in 2015 as a conversation between the 5 co-founders, and there was a couple more people in that conversation to begin with. So Nikki Bentham, who's a producer, Hope Dixon-Leach, who's a director, Jessica Levick, who's another producer, So Maya, who's a film critic and writer, and then myself. And we weren't all parents at the beginning. Some were thinking about becoming parents, and some might thought that they might have caring responsibilities at some point in their life. But we were looking around and seeing that there was an issue, and that our colleagues were facing sort of systemic challenges in terms of staying in the industry. And so that was how Raising Films was started, and very quickly we realized that we needed some data to prove all these kind of anecdotal conversations. So that was making it possible. That was a survey that we conducted in 2016 with the help of Creative Scotland and the University of Stirling. That 79% of respondents said that their caring role had a massive impact on their ability to stay within the industry. Is that the majority of people working in the industry are freelance, work freelance, and therefore flexible working hours, long working hours, unpredictable working hours have a huge impact on their career, and then often when caring responsibilities come into the mix, it becomes really difficult. Many people were saying that they had to disappear from the industry for 2-3 years or more, and were finding it really difficult to get back into the industry. One of the things that people came back to, we also asked people what would be most helpful for them in terms of sustaining a career, and what they came back and said was that tax-free childcare for freelancers, which people are working on that. But the other thing was job shares and flexible working hours, family-friendly productions, and so on. Were one of the things that were really preventing people from staying in the industry. To talk about what can we do and to find solutions for how can we change things and affect what we know affect diversity and so on as well. And that or some of the themes that came up was, what you see here. There's often a lack of HR support for freelancers. People find it difficult to report when there are issues. They don't know who to go to, or if they report something, that person has moved on, or people are afraid of losing their job, etc., etc. That's part of what you said in your introduction as well. That normalizing this conversation becomes really, really important. As was said by quite a few people in the room on that day, making the commercial case for doing this is really important, because otherwise it won't happen. So, and returnship schemes, but also family-friendly productions, and people thinking about 5-day shoots instead of 6-day shoots, and how those working hours pan out and so on. It's the next one. So. This is an example of one. So we created checklists for employers, so for smaller companies, one for larger companies and organizations, for freelancers, and for guilds and unions, etc., for people to go and see, what can they do in order to create a more diverse and inclusive industry. Yeah, really, our call to action was at the end of the Making It Possible report, and it's everything that we're talking about today, is to try and encourage the industry to be more flexible and to normalise the conversation, so that it's not just, we see examples of it, and you have the video, and we have individual cases where it's working and where people know the employee, there might be more willingness to employ flexible working practices, but we would like to see it being something that is completely acceptable and normal to discuss as an option, not just for those who are known, A-listers or have higher profiles, because we lose voices if we don't do this. And I'm wearing my badge proudly today because the Writers Guild has also launched an equality rights campaign today with a big report into gender equality and representation in the film and TV industries, and the figures are pretty abysmal. And we have known this anecdotally for years, and it plays into this as well. And if we don't create a more flexible industry, we lose those voices, and what we see on the screen and the stories that we tell hold a mirror up to our society. So it's important that we have those diverse voices. Yeah. I think, you know, in many cases it's that people haven't done it before, so then they're unsure of how it will work, and there is that kind of fear that, you know, rather than gaining two voices, you don't know who knows what, and so on, you know, and I'm sure, you know, Jonathan will talk a bit about that, you know, that as well. So in many cases it's just that people haven't done it. So those are the main reasons. I think there isn't, you know, it's systemically it's not something that we're used to seeing yet. But I think more and more people are making the case for not just job share but 4-day working weeks, and you know, this isn't just for parents and carers. It's everybody's right to have a healthier working life, and if you can do that and still get great creative voices, then, you know, why not?
Well,